information about tonight's event. So housekeeping, the restrooms, the men's restroom is over here to my right, and the women's is over here to my left. So if you have any questions, we'll be walking. So floaters with name cards, which we all have, they just slide us down, and we'll be able to assist you. Exits are where you came in, but there's also a sign to the right here. Garbage, I'm a stickler. Just leave it how you found it. If you have some garbage, just make sure you dispose it in the appropriate receptacle. Wi-Fi, we're working on that, but it will be here. It's displayed right here on the screen. So that will be Mongo UDF, and then the password is welcome to NYC. Photos, as you've seen, I've been taking photos. JD will be taking photos, and other people. But if you do take photos, please use the hashtag unlock and decode. So it's right here, please, so we can connect it and find it. Also, we'll just be going throughout the evening, so when we do start with the lesson, we'll ask all those that are over here to come into the center so we'll be able to see what's happening. We do have a screen over there, but if you feel more comfortable with that, so that's totally fine with that. But I just want to welcome everybody for being here tonight, taking the opportunity to come here and learn how to code, to make an impact in a different way. Antoine's very passionate about what he's doing, so to see you all coming in the room and signing up and looking every single day, I just got more excited and more excited. So I'm just so thankful to be in this space right now with you all. So we are making history for Unlock Academy, so you are the first. So I'm just so excited for all of you being here, and hopefully you'll enjoy yourselves and learn so much today. So right now I'm going to introduce one of our partners and organizers, Alex Jacob.
Thank you, Sean. You saw me sweating. Can everyone hear me if I speak here?
What?
Yeah, my name is Alex Chin. I work with the Code Cooperative, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second, but I just wanted to go over our code of conduct. So we expect everyone here to participate in an authentic and active way. In doing so, you contribute to the health and longevity of this community. Please exercise consideration and respect in your speech and actions. Attempt collaboration before conflict. Please refrain from demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior in speech. And be mindful of your surroundings and of your fellow participants. Alert community leaders if you notice a dangerous situation, someone in distress, or violation of this code of conduct, even if they seem inconsequential. So folks, you can turn to, if you need help with this, raise your hand now. Mostly me. Okay, me. Yeah, I work with the Code Cooperative, and I'm just going to play a video because it'll say what we do better than I can. And I'm very grateful to be here. I'm a very big fan of Antoine and JJ. So grateful to be a part of this event, and very grateful for MongoDB for hosting us. Oh. Sound? Sound good video? Thanks, Carrie.
The Code Cooperative is a very unique program in the sense that it's bringing together people who normally don't get a chance to actually interact very often.
For a lot of our students, traditional job paths aren't necessarily an option because of their history with the criminal justice system. What we do is provide free technology education to formerly incarcerated and justice-involved individuals as a pathway to equity.
The technology and having access to information and being able to use it is really, it's like the most powerful currency. Allowing someone to tap into their own creative energy, their own ideas, and be able to sort of like magnify that just by learning some basic things like HTML and CSS is super important.
These concepts and the language to describe it is all new to me, and I love learning about it. Because when I'm out and about in the street, I just see the world like a little differently now. It's like I've peeked behind the curtain.
Even though you serve your time, I still can't vote. You know, I can't give a public house. I'm not asking for a handout, I'm asking for a hand up.
People that have been affected by the justice system are put at a big disadvantage in our society. They're discriminated against because of their form of incarceration. These skills are essential to help people get jobs and support themselves. So I think it's a way of leveling the playing field.
We pair each of our students with a mentor who is a professional software engineer.
That relationship between the mentor and the mentee, because it's one-on-one, we get to really sort of tailor the interaction really towards supporting the mentee as much as possible.
If it's just you wanting to know basic knowledge of how to browse the web and how to check an email, it's worth it. If you want to go more in depth and learn how to create a web page, it all depends on what you want to get out of it. This is the opportunity for your future. If I really believe in myself, I need to put the energy out there and co-cooperative, there's nothing love in this place.
The co-cooperative makes me feel a part of something good.
The cooperative makes me feel extremely empowered.
If you want to learn more about computers, if you want to learn to code, if you want to do good and you don't really know how, if you want to join a community of like-minded people who care about learning together and building technology to make a better world, join us.
All right, that was a welcome here. That's also, Windows who weren't able to use to connect to the Wi-Fi, you should be able to connect now. So hopefully that works out. And then I don't know where the next slide is, but
Yes, thank you.
Greg,
No, Julia.
Julia.
Yes.
Julia is going to come up here and talk to us about MongoDB.
You guys can hear me, right? I can project my voice. All right, so MongoDB is a wonderful company. I've been here for over 6 months. We are a database company. We're also, if you're interested, which you will probably get working with databases at some point, our database is free. All right, so our database is free. So if anybody is looking for a free database when they're writing an application or whatever, you can totally look into MongoDB and just start using it. And the cool thing about us is that we educate people on how to use our platform and our software online for free. So if you just go to MongoDB University, that's the team that I'm a part of. So you'll see classes, some of them with me, teaching how to use MongoDB and teaching how to use this particular database with the language of your choice, or just to learn about databases. It's like a great resource, and it's free. Did I say it's free? Cool. Yes. All right, and the other thing I wanted to say about MongoDB is this is the first company that I'm working in that is super open to engineers of any backgrounds. When I started here, one of my colleagues, who is now a manager and a senior engineer, so he's no longer on my team, he only had, I think, a GED and 17 years in the Army behind his back, so he didn't have a formal computer science education. He learned on his own, and again, he's a senior engineer / manager right now and doing fantastic. And MongoDB is super open to different kinds of backgrounds and different kinds of educational paths that you take in order to become an engineer. So if you're interested, if you want to talk to me, if you're interested in at some point applying to work here as an engineer or in any other capacity, please come talk to me. I can, we can look over your resume. I'm happy to just meet with you, assist with any of this application stuff, refer you, all that stuff. So I'm going to be around until almost the end of the event, and talk to me. If you have any questions, also talk to me. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask a quick favor. I know everyone has social media, so I need everyone who have your phone take a snapshot of each other's selfie and hashtag #UnlockMGPro and post it. We would greatly appreciate that.
Thinking about
Whoever may not have their phone or may not be charged, photobomb, do something.
Like,
And, but I would love for you guys to take a photo and hashtag unlock and decode. Give you a few minutes.
Oh shoot. I did not know JJ.
Promise you I would grab Antoine and try to give him a photobomb. Is JJ around anywhere? Get her in your photo. I appreciate you doing that. Show people that you support us. Let me see how much you support us. Thank you. I love her.
Okay, that's
Yay.
cool.
She's on it. Unlock and decode. It is A and D. Unlock and decode.
Oh, you could be in there.
Thank you so much for
And I
doing
got
that. We
Antoine.
really
Okay, cool.
appreciate you.
That's cool. I'm not a
So before we move on, I just want to again thank you for being here. If you do have any, they're still working on connecting right now.
Take a picture on your phone.
Okay, wonderful, great.
Can I get a yes from someone who couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi who now can?
Yes.
I'm on that.
Thank you.
We're making progress. Look at
Yes,
that.
they really worked to set up this space in such a quick time, so just shout out to everyone. Hand clap for MongoDB. So next, I would love to introduce Antoine.Digital. He is a co-founder and director of operations for PhotoPatch. He is a phenomenal man. He is, you'll get to see who this extraordinary man is, but it's a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to announce our next speaker, Digital.
Hi everybody, I'm Greg Bryant. I go by Greg.Digital. The .Digital because everything we do is tech-based related. Excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first time speaking.
It's okay, I got you.
So, a few months ago, I saw something on Instagram. It was the 10-year challenge. And I thought about something that came in my mind. 10 years ago, I had an idea for wireless headphones. And I was working at a country club, and I had to tuck my shirt in. But I love music, so I could listen to my music. But it was just like the wires all right here, and all I was wireless headphones. And I went on Google. I did some research. I did not know how to invest. I did not know manufacturing. I didn't know anything. So what I did was, and a few years later, I'm in Best Buy, and I see my headphones on the shelf. You know how it felt like that was heartbreaking. So my cousin Antoine at the time, and he knew that I wanted to have my own business by the age of 30. And he would just always send me business plans. And since that moment, I was like, like anything that I'm involved in, even if I don't know what it is, I'm gonna give it a shot. And if somebody that I know that can do it, I'm gonna learn from them. So there was one idea in particular that stuck out to me. It's PhotoPatch. PhotoPatch is a nonprofit organization that helps children communicate with their incarcerated parents. They come to our website, created an account, upload and print it, ship it off to the parent for free. His daughter JJ actually created a mobile app about 2 years ago. Since then, we have been on the road. We were on Steve Harvey's show about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But that was phenomenal. Tech-based is running the world. So for you guys to be here, we really do appreciate that. Do not take this time for granted. This is really our equivalent to the stock market in the 80s. And we all know how powerful that was. So again, without further ado, Antoine.Digital.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
Hey.
Good. Thank you guys, everybody on the team. Mongo, Alex and Coco out, Shala, JJ. I can't name everybody, but I love you guys. And I love everybody who's in this room because you guys are showing like good faith. Like you guys believe in what we're doing and you want to be a part of it, and more so you're trying to figure out, how can you break into this industry. And like Greg just said, the time is now. This is a very, very special time we're living in. I like to refer to it as like the Renaissance, this tech Renaissance. And it's something that's been going on for a while. And if you look around the room, right, like it's heavy minority mix, right? A lot of us are in the room because this is who we're trying to open up the floodgates for. And the cool thing is you have companies like Code Cooperative who are willing to help us out. MongoDB said, hey, you guys can use this space. So it's here if you guys want it. And like Greg said, please don't take it for granted. We're putting in so much time into branding this thing, and we're having these videos shot. JJ and I were recording videos Sunday night, falling asleep to make sure students had their lesson for the week. Like, we're serious about this, and shout out to everybody who's taking it serious. Quick show of hands, who's already started taking any of the Unlock Academy courses? Okay, cool. This is good. I'm glad this is like, because I'm gonna start with the basics. So I may bore you 3 or 4 who started, but I was hoping just to get people who like, the main reason why we call this is we want to unlock your true potential and unlock this industry. I know a lot of people think that this is like very intimidating to get into tech, right? Like, I don't want to touch computers. Like, that's not for me. I don't want to see ones and zeros, and I'm not a mathematician. But I used to think the same thing. Like Greg said, I did 8 years in prison. And when I was in prison, I got enrolled into this college program. It was a really, really unique situation, something that doesn't happen for everybody. So I'm in this prison, Elmira Correctional Facility, this maximum state in New York State, and one of the worst prisons in the nation. And somehow, some way, this college program comes in and say, hey, we want to, we're teaching people, we're giving people degrees, like really accredited degrees. So the reason why it stood out to me was because you can get 6 months off your sentence if you take it. So I'm like, yeah, I need to get back home to my daughter, So I took the course. I applied, and luckily I got accepted, because they only accepted 15 people out of 1,500 inmates. So I was blessed enough to be accepted. I wrote an essay to get accepted, and it worked out. So I'm taking these courses like philosophy and history. My boy, Cito was, I don't need to put you on the spot, but Cito did a lot of time with me as well, and we were pursuing a degree together. We did a lot of coding together too, a little bit of hacking too. We ain't gonna talk about that. C++, I started calling him after a while. But so we're taking all these different courses, poetry and math and stuff like that. And then one day they brought a web development course. Right? They were like, hey, who wants to take the web development course? And I'm like, not me. That's for geniuses. Keep it away from me. So I totally turned it down, right? Instantly, never gave myself a second to really take this thing serious and see if it could work for me. So fast forward 2 months, I'm sitting in a cell, and I'm reading USA Today. And USA Today was talking about apps, how apps will become this really big thing. And I'm like, this is way better than I used to do. I used to be in the streets and I was selling weed, and I had to sell a 1 nickel bag to get $5, and I'm risking my life, my freedom, protection. People, you're in the wrong corner, somebody wants to try to come and take your life. I'm like, I can go and sell an app. I never have to leave my house, and I can just post this thing, and people will download it for $1 or $10. Sounds like a no-brainer. The catch was you have to learn how to code. So I'm like, shoot, I turned that course down, right? But I was so excited to get into it because every day after that I started reading these tech articles in the USA Today. I was hungry for it. So I started reading those articles, and eventually I started coming up with my own ideas. So I was like, what problems can I solve? And the biggest one to me was this communication gap between myself and my daughter. She was 3 years old when I was in prison, and it was hard for me to get letters and stuff from her. So I was like, hey, what if we can build an application that allows her to send photos and letters to me, just by clicking a couple buttons on her phone, and then so it's still snail mail on the back end, but we would just hide the process. So like Greg said, I wrote a business plan, I sent it to him, seen if he thought it was a good idea, or if I was just tripping or something. Man, he loved it. And then I talked to a few guys around the prison who also had loved ones outside who wanted to communicate with them, and it was like, sounds brilliant. Long story short, man, that's what drove me to just keep on learning how to code. I couldn't take the course, but what I did do was I went down to the computer lab that we had in the prison, I found a book on coding, and I taught myself. I said, you know what, like, I'm not gonna let this thing stop me from getting to that next level, you know? So, thank you. And like I said, JJ. I love the girl. I just can't thank her enough because she always believed, you know? Her letters were always super positive, super optimistic, can't wait to get here. And that's what kept me saying, you know, I'm gonna figure this out. So, fast forward to today, we're a 501c3 organization. We've been helping families for the last 4 years. April is our birth month. It makes 4 years that we've been in existence, 4 years since I've been home. And like, it's been crazy, like the momentum has been ridiculous. I used to be coding every night, you know, working on different projects. And then JJ said, hey, can I learn how to code too? And I taught her, and like, she just took it to another level. She ended up building her whole app out. And that was, for me, that inspired me to say, you know what, if a 12-year-old, get that, she was 10 at the time. If a 10-year-old can learn how to code, you know, it's like, I know I can teach more people. Like, that's crazy. So, that's where we are today. Not only are we doing our nonprofit organization, we also have a consulting firm where we build apps and we build websites for individuals, nonprofits, corporations. That's how we pay our bills. But everything else besides that, we pretty much give back to the community. The Unlock Academy was created, really, I wanted it to be 100% free course, right? Free class. I wanted to just teach people for free. But what we started noticing was people need to feel like some kind of urgency, some kind of commitment. So we created this membership and make people pay $40 a month for their membership. But it comes with so much, right? So many benefits. If you look it up, you see what it comes with. We're gonna help you guys get internships. We're gonna help you build a resume. We're gonna help you build a portfolio, right? I'm gonna introduce you to all of our connects. Like, look, got you guys at Mongo. They said they're really hiring. You know, all you gotta do is show up. They're always, so companies like this are always hiring. They always looking for new talent. So it's really up to us just to step up and take advantage of it. So that's why we're here today. If you guys have any questions at any moment, Steve or something, man. Any questions at all, just stop me. Like, this could be really informal, super informal. And also we have some help around. So Alex, she's a coder. She knows what she's doing. If you guys get caught up at any moment, she can help out.
Okay.
Shantla's a coder. I'm joking, don't we got a few people. Who else, if you know how to code already, got a little experience, raise your hand so they can know. Okay, so JJ, okay, what's your name? Jonathan. We got C's back here. Albert, raise your hand. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, and then we got some over here. Even actual young man right here, the young king can help you guys out. Okay? But as we're going through this, just if you have any problems, look for one of them or look directly in and say, hey, I'm not getting it. And I'll try to come over myself or send somebody else. But the goal today is just to create a really basic website so you can just see like how tangible it is to learn how to code. It's not that tough, right? I was intimidated, so I know how you guys feel. I'm not going to use any crazy jargon. I'm going to give it to you like just super straight. And my main thing is I just ask you guys to ask questions, right? Okay. Just ask questions. It's okay. It's no, like the code of conduct said, this is a no judge zone. Nobody's going to look at you funny if you don't get anything. We're all in this for the same reason, because we want to come up, we want to learn this skill, okay? Okay. So with that being said, any questions? Yes?
I have a question. It's not exactly technical, but I did have questions regarding automation. Do you believe that coding will become automated? Is that possible? Meaning that there will be less and less human beings actually behind doing the coding? And is there some way to kind of be future-proof for that?
To be future. What I would say is anything's possible, right?
Okay.
I don't think we'll see that for sure in our generation or even our kids' generation. And even with what's going on right now, where we see robotics and all this automation, like cashiers being taken over, right? Still, like those things need maintenance. You ever went to a Walmart or some store where that cashier doesn't work, like that? What is it called? A kiosk? It isn't working.
Yeah.
Like, we write buggy code, right? We're always going to write buggy code. It's going to happen. So there's always going to be a need for programming, in my opinion. And I'm not a guy, so I don't know everything, but I wouldn't let that deter you from getting started.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much potential right now. There's way more work than there are programmers. It's ridiculous. Like my friend Soli just told me, he was interviewing for a couple jobs. He said one job told him, like, stop interviewing, please stop. Like, we'll call you back by Friday. We're gonna look you up. So that goes to show how like hungry people are when they find good talent. All right. And what I'm going to be teaching you guys over the course of the year, if you take this mastery course, It's all the fundamentals. Everything I teach you throughout this course will show you not only how to build websites, but how to build apps, how to get into robotics, how to build AI, how to get into augmented reality, virtual reality. There's so much potential in this. The thing is, as long as you learn the fundamentals, you can learn the rest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So that So what we're going to be talking about today is HTML, maybe a little bit of CSS as well. HTML is a web language. It's a web language that was created to pretty much create these, create web pages, right? And it's the skeleton of all web pages. So I like to use the analogy of like the human body because for me, that's the easiest thing. So when you look at the human body, at the deepest core of all of us, right? Actually, I won't say that because I do believe it. So, but like our body, the skeleton, right? Everyone has a skeleton, and that just like kind of frames who we are as people. So the same thing with the website. Every single website you go to, it has that HTML behind the scenes. And the HTML's sole purpose is just to create that structure. So not every website, but many websites you go to, you see that uniqueness. Some have a big header at the top, some have a navigation at the top, some have a navigation just at the bottom, some start with a video. HTML is what you use to bring these web pages to life, okay? Then we have another language called CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and that's meant to like bring style to your website. So without CSS, we probably wouldn't see these green buttons. We probably wouldn't see buttons next, like horizontal to each other. You wouldn't see much animation, different things like that. So the CSS is meant to bring some style. So think about like your clothes, like and stuff like that you bring to your body. So today we're going to focus on HTML5. Usually I'm just going to say HTML because HTML5 is the latest standard. We went from HTML1 for short to like XHTML. There's a lot of different versions, but for the most part, if you hear somebody say something, they're talking about the latest version. This is HTML5. And what HTML stands for is Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, so it's that. Don't worry about what that means today, right? Once we get into the courses, it'll make sense. Today, you don't need to know that. It won't stop you from what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to be using HTML to pretty much create a basic web page, and I'll show you guys how to use these elements to bring the web page to life. Is anybody not on the internet? Yes, we made it. Cool. All right. We got one? Okay. So today we're going to be coding online. We're going to be using something called Glitch. So if you can on your computers, everybody go to glitch.com and just stick right there on glitch.com. Any browser will do, yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. I always like to talk about browsers. So without browsers, there will be no HTML, right? Because browsers are responsible for actually displaying your web pages. A browser was created in the 90s as well with HTML. And what it does is it literally will read through your code and display the information. It knows how to break down each element, each tag that I'm going to show you guys in a second. Okay? So when we start off our documents, you're going to see we always add an HTML tag. And the reason why is because the browser, this is Google Chrome, it can open up any documents. You may see a browser open up an image. You may see it open up a XML document, a PDF, different things, right? You can play videos, but we're going to be focused on HTML for sure. So everybody's on Glitch, right? So what Glitch is, this is like a really, really cool tool I just recently learned about, and thanks to Alex. And what it does is it allows us to build it's like it has a text editor there. So a text editor is where you start coding at. There's different text editors. Here's one right here that I really like to use called Visual Studio Code, right? There's another one called Visual Studio Added Code to the end. Because Visual Studio by itself is a monster, and I don't want you guys to get lost in that. So Visual Studio Code is like this lightweight text editor, and this is where you type your HTML code at, okay? You can download it onto your computer, and you probably use this more so once you get home and start working on it yourself. Today we're going to be using Glitch. Glitch is an online text editor. That's just the basics of it. It also does some really, really other cool stuff as well. One thing that I really like about it is we can start coding right now and then make our website live in like one click of a button. So usually when you code something that's just on your computer and you can't send it to anybody. With Glitch, we're going to code, and then like when you leave here, you can send this to somebody. Like, yeah, this came from a coding build. Here's my link. Here's what I built. Okay? So I'm really big on like getting quick results. I want you guys to quickly see like how powerful this is. Okay? So if you're already on Glitch, You can sign in, but let's not do that right now. First, let's just click on new project. And then when you click on new project, you're gonna see hello web page. Just click that. And you guys can just follow along with my screen, and you'll be able to see everything I do, and I just want you guys to kind of follow along. Okay, so let this load up a little bit.
And then hello webpage.
So Glitch is really cool. It created a project for you instantly, right? It creates this project for you, puts it in a folder, and inside this folder, it has a few key things. One is an assets folder. When you see assets, what that means is like, what are key documents and files that are needed for this web page. So let's say you have different images on your website, you want to package them together, you put them in the assets folder, right? Videos, songs, like audio files, different kind of, that's what I mean by assets, right? We're not going to deal with that right now. Let's go on down. We also have a README file. A README file is, you'll get used to hearing this a lot, because this is usually like your own documentation that describes what this project is for, right? So usually we want to go through and we want to make this more descriptive. We're not going to focus on that today, but as you go along, you'll get used to it. It doesn't have any function. It's more so just for documentation and for other people who come along later to know what you're doing. All right, so know what this project is about. All right, then we have the index.html. This is the most important document here. Index.html is like the start. So anytime you go to any website on the internet, the main page it goes to is index.html. You may not see it. So if you go to google.com, as soon as it goes to google.com, it's looking for like these Google bots or whatever, the search engine is looking for google.com/index.html. It just doesn't show it in the URL bar. But by default, anytime you create a new project, your home page is index.html, okay? So let's just get used to that being standard. Now, the .html part is important because it's the extension. That lets the browser know that this is an HTML file, right? That this is going to be part of my website. There's also, you've probably seen other extensions like GIFs, .png, .jpeg, .pdf. Those are different extensions. .html means this is an HTML file. So we're going to be building a website. Okay. We also have a script.js, which you guys don't have to worry about today, but what we will be putting here eventually is JavaScript. JavaScript is like the muscle, right? The muscle of a website, right? This is what brings interactivity to the website. So when you go to a website and you click a button and something happens, that's what JavaScript is doing, right? You go to a website and let's say you go to YouTube, and YouTube populates your recommended videos just for you. That's JavaScript. JavaScript is calling the database and saying, hey, bring me all of the videos that Antoine likes, right? So JavaScript is like, it's powerful and it lives on the front end. And the reason why I say front end is because there's also something called the back end. And the back end is where like the database lives. That's where you code languages. If you've heard of like C++, Python, Java, those are more back end languages. A lot of people start with those languages. I don't recommend it because it is a little bit more complex to think about. I like to start with the web first because it introduces you to everything from the basics. So my belief is you start with the web and then you work your way to the back end, okay? So sometimes, a lot of people just start strictly with the back end, which makes, it can work for some people, but I find a lot of frustration when I try it that way. So JavaScript is where you will put your JavaScript files at, and then Alice has a question.
I have a question. Would you mind making it zooming in?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can ask anything. Is that good enough?
Maybe one more.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have a file called style.css. So remember we talked about CSS a little bit. The CSS is like what brings the flavor to the website, right? So mostly like your default, you can create multiple JavaScript files. You can create multiple CSS files. But these are like standard names that for like the first one or whatever you want. You can make them more descriptive. You can name them whatever you want, okay? We're not going to put anything much in here either. They already gave us some default stuff, but we're not going to really focus on that today. But it's here. So I want to go back over here to this index.html file because this is where we're going to do most of our work, okay? Now, first thing I want you guys to do, right, because they gave us a little bit of help from the beginning. We don't need your help. Well, we kind of do. We want that click of a button thing to make it live quick. But I want you guys to go over here. I'll speak up so you can hear me. We have a body tag. This is called a body tag. Really quick, and I'm going to break all of this down. But in between this body tag, I want you guys to just delete everything in between this body tag. Highlight it and delete it. And we're going to build it from scratch. Actually, I like you guys so much. We're going to build the whole thing from scratch. So I want to do this. Just highlight everything and just hit the delete key. Okay, we're going to start from super scratch. Brother, you got a question back there?
No, I was asking if you meant the entire script.
Yeah, let's delete it all. Let's just start from scratch. Yes? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Let's just start with one. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Okay. Everybody deleted?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So to start every single HTML document off, right, you always need to start by, like, this is the minimum that you need, is what we call an HTML element. The HTML element is what the browser reads to let them know, like, this is going to be an HTML file, right? So we have to start off with this. An element is composed of an opening tag and a closing tag, okay? An opening tag and a closing tag. We're going to show you what a tag is. Here's an opening tag. It's called HTML. Glitch is so cool, it automatically closes it for you, right? Sometimes this doesn't happen depending on what your text editor is. But as soon as I type this, it worked. So opening tag is a bracket. You can find that bracket next to your M key by holding down Shift, comma. Shift, comma will get you that bracket. That's the opening bracket, right? And then the closing one is that Shift, period. So you start off every single document like this, right? And 99% of elements have an opening tag and a closing tag. We'll talk about a couple that don't, but for the most part, just know, any tag you open, you need to close it. Just keep that in your mind. And I'll tell you why.
What happens if you don't close it?
If you don't close it, so it will run on. So just imagine if, let's say you want to create a link, right? And let's say I have a specific amount of text that I want to link. If I open up the tag that's a link and I don't close it, everything after I open it up will be linked. You know what I'm saying? So that would suck, right? Because somebody come to your website and you only want them to click one word that will link them to another thing. Instead, everything is linkable and it may conflict with another link that you want to do something else. Great question, though. Oh, okay. Oh, that backslash. Great question. So the backslash is really telling the browser this is closing. So right here, this is the end of this element. Okay? So when we go, like I said, create a link, we need to open up the link and then we need to close it. Once it sees that backslash on the element and knows like, okay, stop here, nothing else here is a part of this element. Yes, sir?
Tag an element, they're just taking words.
Nope, I'll show you. So an element is composed of two tags. Like it can be 1, 2 as well if it's self-closing, but we'll talk about that. But pretty much an element is 2 tags. So this makes up an element. 2 tags make up 1 element.
Can you say that again?
Yep. 2 tags make up 1 element. So an opening tag and a closing tag create 1 element.
Okay.
The more you hear it, you'll start getting used to it. Like, hey, did you close your element, or did you add a closing tag? You'll get used to it the more and more as you start using this terminology.
Okay, because the tags are brackets.
Yeah, what a link? Mm-hmm. Another link if you want to open up something else, yeah. So we're going to create a few different links. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So, and there's other content, like there's so many tags, right, that are built into this language. They've created hundreds. I can't even name them all. And the beautiful part is you don't even have to remember them all. That's the coolest thing. You don't have to. You have this really, really cool tool called Google, right? So if you ever want to do something, if you want to know how to create a link, literally all you have to do is open up a tag and say how to create a link in HTML. And literally you're going to get so many different resources that's going to show you how to do it. You get text, you get videos, like all kinds of tutorials, okay? So the internet is at your grasp. When I learned how to code, I was in a prison, maximum security prison, or minimum security, or medium security prison, but they didn't have internet. we didn't have access to the internet, so we had to rely on books or rely on the college bringing in certain resources. So now I'm Googling every 10 seconds, like it's crazy. And it's cool, like every single programmer does it, right? You gotta take advantage of this. So if you ever get stuck and you wanna know how to do something, take advantage of like searching on the internet. Okay, cool. So the next tag I wanna talk about is something called the head tag. So you type the open head and then close head. The head tag, head element, excuse me. So the head element, the way I like to describe this is like you're kind of telling the browser to think ahead. We're not going to add much here right now, but this is where you add extra resources. This is where you add, like if you want to import a CSS file or a certain font. Let's say you want a really cool font on your web page, but you don't have it yourself. Google creates like has a bunch of fonts, a whole font library, and you can import those fonts. Or let's say it's an image or a JavaScript file or a plugin. Plugins are really, really popular. So there's people, really cool people, like think one like jQuery or Slider.js. They create cool tools. Let's say you want a carousel, like you want something that just slides images across the page. Or let's say you want a pop-up video when somebody comes to your page. You can build that from scratch, or you can leverage somebody who already built that tool. And literally all you have to do is add one line of code, and it'll be on your website for you to use and customize how you want to use it. So that's where you will put it at. You will put it inside of that head tag, okay? So we're not going to add anything there right now, but it's good to just have it there. It can be empty, and later on you'll put different resources there. So underneath that, and if you may notice, I'm doing something called indentation. I'm moving, every time I type something, I'm moving it over a little bit in, because the head is a child element of the HTML element. I'll say that again. The head element is a child of the HTML element. So it's like everything starts getting embedded inside of each other. You're going to see more and more as we go along. But it also helps with readability. That's the main reason why we indent things, is because when I go back and look at my code, if everything is just flat along the left side of the screen, it will be really hard to read. All right, so certain things you want to kind of shift in a little bit. Also, if somebody else comes behind you and reads your code, you want them to be able to read it really quick. So next, I want to ask, to me, maybe the second most important element is called the body element. So you type open tag for body. And then you type a closing tag for body. And let's glitch there for you. Cool. Okay, cool. So, really quick, give yourself a round of applause. You have created your first web page. This is all you need. This is the super fundamentals right here. So, did you see how you started getting used to typing those brackets and those slashes? It's not that much as you get into it. Like, it's really not. So this is the first step. Like, if you can do this, there's a bunch more tags that we need to learn, but you don't have to memorize it. So now it's just learning the tags, putting them together, and building your website. So I'm about to go into it and show you guys a few more tags that'll bring something visual to our website. Right now, if you want to, you can click this button at the top that says live, and it'll open up another tab and show you what we have so far. So you're gonna see a blank page, right? But I want to show you guys how we take a blank page and we start bringing it to life. So go back to your index.html. And one of the first elements I want to show you about is, so anything inside the body, the reason why the body is important is because this is where your main content goes. Anything you want to show up on the screen, you put it inside of the body tag, right? The head is for like just importing different resources. The body is where like, this is what's going to show up on my webpage. Okay. So this is like really where all the hard work happens. If you want, you can add a bunch of space because we're going to be typing a lot inside of this tag. So, yes. Yep. So this one, the deliciousglitch.me, I'm not sure. Do you have the answer to that? If they can buy a domain, customize this?
Glitch generates a random domain for everyone. You can purchase your own domain and then redirect it. And if you'd like more information on that, just talk to me after.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working with this a lot more often because I've been playing around with it for a couple weeks and it's super cool. And I want to get behind it. And I think it's something for people like you guys who are newbies, just like get started. It's really quick. Like usually we would have to download software on everybody's computers. It would take about 10, 15 minutes. I would have to show you how to navigate and like how to like stay away from a bunch of those other buttons. Like we could just get going instantly with this. So I think this is something you should take advantage of as much as possible. And you get that instant result where you can see it live. So today's lesson, I really want to do something different. I want to dedicate this to the late Nipsey Hussle, right? That really kind of hit hard for me and a lot of people in our community. He was doing a lot trying to give back to people and like teaching entrepreneurship and leading by example. So a lot of the stuff that I put up here today is going to be kind of in that vein. So bear with me, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm going to show you guys how to like add different stuff. So for example, let's say as soon as we come to our website, we wanted to see something that immediately talks about, like in 3 words or 4 or 5 words, who is Nipsey Hussle. So I would put something like this. I want a big heading, right? You want to go to the website, you want immediately just to see something huge. So I would do something like this. I type something called an H1 tag. So you type H1, and what this stands for is heading, right? Heading 1. Now, when you go to most websites, like different blogs and stuff like that, you see something that has like big text. There's different headings that we can create. We have H1, we have H2, we have H3, H4, H5, and H6. H1 is the biggest heading, H6 is the smallest heading, okay? So because this is like the intro to the website, we want it to be kind of big. So inside of our H1, what we want to do is, we're going to type Marathon continues.
Yes, it does.
And then the only thing I want you to do is go over here, click show live, go back to your other tab, and you're going to see it pops up on the screen.
Okay.
Okay? You got your first step right there? So now we're going to keep on building on top of this as we go along. Now the cool thing is that H1 is the biggest one. Now underneath that I'm going to put right.
I already took a picture. It's just my TV don't.
And the cool thing about Glitch is it automatically refreshes your page. So now you can go over to the other tab and it's there already for you. You don't have to click anything else. So really, really cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Now look at the difference, right? My H1, the text, the marathon continues, was inside of an H1 tag. The other text, which says long live Nipsey Hussle, it's not. It's just sitting there by itself. It's not in between any tags except for the body tag. So by default, this is what text looks like. By default, the text is just as small on the screen. It's just like paragraph text, regular paragraph text. But we can use H1s and H2s and stuff like that to make text bigger.
You might zoom in on this too. Thank you.
Looks better?
Yes, perfect.
Can you say again the different, like how the text was folded and?
So yeah, by default, all text is this size, which is the long live Nipsey Hussle. By default, that's what the text size is.
Okay.
You can change that by using CSS or by using H1 heading elements. Any kind of heading elements, H1 through H6.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. The font type, yeah. We're going to go over a little bit about that. But remember, if you go over here to style.css, this is how CSS is written. So in HTML, you see we have those brackets and like an open and closing bracket. CSS is different. CSS is written with, you pretty much give a name. So you're saying this right here, I'm going to break this down. Hey. Okay. Let me move this. So what we have here is the body. This is saying pretty much, go find an element called body, right? And this is the rules that I want you to apply to that element called body. So anytime you see the body tag, I want you to make the font family Benton Sans, right? If Benton Sans can't be found because some browsers don't support certain fonts, cool. I want you to go and make Helvetica new. That's the next font I want you to use. If that doesn't work, just use Helvetica. If that doesn't work, use Arial. All right? If that doesn't work, worst case scenario, sans serif. It's going to work. Okay? Every browser is going to support that, just like the default sans serif font. Okay? So that's how we change the font. Now, if you want a specific font, you can Google, like go to the internet and just search up CSS fonts, and it's going to give you a list of different ones. Or you can go to Google, I think it's fonts.google.com, and it'll give you a whole list of different fonts, which are like really cool. And some are free. I think it's some payment in there sometime, but there's a bunch of free ones you can use as well. Right? Here's another rule. So every rule, you start on a new line, you do a colon, so it says the font family colon, and you end it with a semicolon. You start another one on the next line. This is called margin. This is pretty much saying, add some, if you know what margin is, like spacing around my document. So I don't want everything exactly to the left of the page. I really want it to be over about 2 EMs, which is some jargon I don't want to get into today. Right? You could put pixels there, you could put percentages there. Either way it goes, it's just what's the word I'm looking for? A measure of how much space we need. Okay? This right here is saying I want every H1 element to be italic font style is italic, and I want the color to be whatever this is, which is hexadecimal. Now, hexadecimal is a whole different subject, but you can Google hexadecimal and it'll show you how to make any color you want in hexadecimal. So sometime, if you want, you could just type something like green, right? And it will work. Oh, I didn't import my CSS. I'm not gonna mess with that right now because you guys have to follow me. But yeah, so you can put any color you want here: green, red, black, orange, blue, white, right? And sometimes that green is not the green you're looking for, right? That red is not the red you're looking for. Hexadecimal allows you to be very, very specific about what that color can be. All right. So when you guys start taking the courses, we get into CSS probably about lesson 3, and we'll go over that in detail. So I really would like to wrap that long live Nipsey Hussle inside of an H3 tag, right? An H3 tag is also a heading, but it's a little bit smaller. So let's wrap it around that. You put an H3 tag, you type that, and then we can copy our text, cut it, and put it in between those tags. Glitch is doing a lot of formatting for us. It's really, really cool. But as you guys download your own text editor like Visual Studio Code or Text Edit, Sublime Text is another one, Atom is another one. Yeah, you will sometimes have to do it yourself or use a shortcut key to format it for you. But this is taking a lot of work out for us. So now when you go back to your page, you see the difference now in the text size.
Is there a shortcut to backspace? I know sometimes you type it wrong, backspace to go faster. The most recent line of code, as opposed to just keep it
Going back up? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that in Glitch. So one thing I want to do with the design for this web page is I want to put everything in the center for now, right? I want to center everything. So the best way to do that is we need to align it. So what I want to do is I want to start structuring this page right. To start adding structure to our page, we use something called the div element. The div element it stands for like divider, right? It divides your web page into different sections. So after body, type a div, right? It's going to create an ending div for you. But what I want you to do is I want you to take that ending div, cut it, and put it underneath your H3. Oops.
So after body.
Okay? So the div, once again, is to divide things into different sections. So when you go to a website, I'll go over here to our website, right? Look at these different sections. All the way up top, we have a navigation up top. So this was be wrapped in a div, all the way up here. You see we have our links over here, we have our login button. That's one section, so that will be wrapped in a div. So we'll put our links into that div. We close that div off, and we open up a new div. Now we have like this hero image here section right here, which talks about, just pretty much gives you an overview of what you're gonna be doing on this page, right? And then we have another div down here. And in this div, we break down what the memberships are, so far, so on. But it's even cooler, inside of here, we can break this up into, so this is a div from here down to here, and then you can break this up, that's one div halfway through, and then this is a div over here. So that way down here is all our memberships, over here could be some posts, and that's just how you separate a web page. That's how you start structuring it. The div tags, they don't do anything except for like add like structure to your web page. It's like saying like I want to block this off, because here I know I'm going to put my links. Over here, I'm going to put my images. Over here, I'm going to put some text just to talk about what we're doing on this page, okay? So it's just like a block element. That's what we call it, because it blocks off certain content, okay?
Somehow I got lost along the way.
Yes, sir.
So here, what's
Yes,
the text that we want?
yes. He said, can we put a div inside of a div? And yes, that's what happens. You start creating all these, it becomes like that. It becomes really layered where you have div inside of other divs.
And the closing is after. So almost.
No, good question. Yep. He said, is there any other, div is div. Like I said, it's always going to say div. You don't have to worry about like a div 3, 3, 4, nothing like that. So it becomes really straightforward. Yes.
Okay, so glitch automatically put a closing tag, line 16, we don't want that. Right, and then after long we see how we want a closing H3 tag. And we don't need this option.
Oh, great question. So I believe she's talking about,
Anything underneath.
like if you put extra space in between these elements.
Right, and then when they drop down, it's
Yeah.
full of the same.
Right, right, yeah.
Nice, so what do you do?
So.
Right, yeah.
Open.
Nope, not, no, they're like
Without the slide.
tiny bit as far as spacing in between words. But besides that, like the browser doesn't care about space. We can literally put all of this on one line, going straight across, and it will still function the exact same way. So that's really cool. We have a lot of flexibility when it comes to how we want to structure our web page. If you're somebody who needs to see a lot of space in between each line of code, you can do it how you want. If you want to cram things together and keep it tight, you can do that as well. It's really up to your coding style. So as you see, I like to, like my divs, if this is the div section, I like to have a little space in between here and a little space in between here. That way I can see this is one div. Down here I'm going to create another div, and it helps me see what's separate. I also like how Glitch automatically puts your elements on different lines, and then your text in the middle. So usually, like if you started by yourself, you could put H1, the marathon continues, close H1 all on one line. But as you start embedding elements into each other, it's better to just put this on a line by itself and put whatever the content is on a whole new line. Yes, sir.
Does it make it easier to read when you keep it on separate lines like that?
Yes, exactly. The readability is a super big thing, especially as right now we're at about 20 lines or something like that. We can get up to 1,500 really quick. I think she had a question over here, yes? Yep, probably means that Eric. Let me see. Hey, Alex? Oh, JJ. JJ to the rescue. Cool. How's everybody doing? Checking in. Everybody's following along. Cool. All right. Okay, so one of the cool things about HTML, right? This is one of the most fascinating things to me, is that they have something called attributes. And attributes allow you to add more like flavor, more sauce to your HTML elements, right? So I give you a couple of examples. One is you can give every element a name. Later on, like through CSS, you'll need to say, I want to add CSS to a specific element, right? I want to add a font to this specific element, or I want this specific element to have this color. And you have to give a name to it. So you can do something like this. You go inside of your element, whatever one it may be, right before that closing tag. But this is an opening tag right before the closing bracket. And you can give it a name. So you say ID equals, and you give it a name. So we can call this like header div. Header div.
You have to put ID?
Yeah. So ID is a built-in keyword. Okay. And it's letting the browser know, hey, anytime like this element is the only element that should be called header div, right? So you should not name more than one element with the same ID. Every element should be unique. There should be no space inside of those double quotes, right? So you do an ID, an equal sign, double quotes, and then you type the words header div. Yes. Great question. She said she noticed that the D is capital, doesn't matter. You can name it whatever you want. The reason why we like to make that the D capital, because anytime you put two words together and there's no space in between, sometimes it can be hard to read. The D makes it easier for you to check and see that this is like how to pronounce what this is. So it's called camel case. And the way to remember that is think about a camel and about the humps in the camel's back and how like it starts off low but then it goes high. So we wrote something really long here like header div at the top of the page, right? That's just an example. You don't have to write that. But you can see how you see how it's easier to read that opposed to if I just wrote header at the top of the page all lowercase or all uppercase, it'll be hard. So it's really just something for convenience and readability. Yes, sir.
Quotations are mandatory?
Yes, quotations are mandatory. Yep. So around all of your attributes, the way we break this down is ID is an attribute name. This is the name of the attribute. And then whatever's inside of the equal signs quotations is called the attribute value. So this is the name, this is the value. So if I ever ask you, like, hey, what's the value of your ID attribute? You should say header div or something like that. All right, so yeah, it's mandatory. Also because we can add more than one attribute. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So those double quotes, once again, it's kind of like open close. Everything in HTML and CSS is like an open close. As you notice over here in the CSS, we have these brackets, right? You see I highlight in blue. That lets the browser know, like, this is where the rules for my CSS start, this is where it ends at. So everything in between these two brackets applies to the body element. Everything inside of these two brackets applies to the H1 element, all right? Everything inside of these two quotes is a part of the name for this ID. So if I wanted to create another one, this time I'm gonna create an attribute called style. I'm gonna do equal sign, and I'll add that, okay? So create that attribute now. Make sure you add a space in between your attributes, so you can have ID equals header div, quotation, space, and then you say whatever your next attribute is. So there's a lot of different attributes, you don't have to learn them all, but we're gonna discover a few today. It's really like, for me, coding is all about learning as you go along. You don't have to, sometimes people think you get started, you have to do it all in a week or in a day. You learn it as you need it. And that's what it's about. That's why I tell everybody,